and it was a bit delayed, so.
Okay. Kak Junita? Kak Wifa, sorry.
Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello, everybody, and welcome. Good evening. I'd like to thank everyone for coming today. And I'm excited to welcome our guest, founder and president of ReachSci, Muhammad Alawamid, and to all participants. And I see a few unfamiliar faces, so we don't forget to thank for member Dikaris community. Okay, let me introduce myself first. I'm Wifa from the Media and Publication Department in Dikaris community. And of course, I'm not alone. I'm with Orbit Junita. We will lead this meeting until the end. Okay, we have some housekeeping to get through first. Before we get started, could you all open camera first with background that we have been prepared? And please put your microphones on mute to keep disruption to a minimum. Okay, Miss Denny, Mr. Denny, Miss Alia, could you open your camera, please? Okay, the first head speech by coordinator of Dikaris community, Mahesa Wardana. Next, our discussion about comparative studies of community system of ReachSci. And then we'll move to next agenda, which is question and answer from our mentors and members. And finally, closing. So let's move to the first agenda, head speech by coordinator of Dikaris community, Mahesa Wardana. Please, time is yours.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity. Okay, thank you to everyone who will be here today. My name is Mahesa Wardana. Such for me to speak on behalf of the organizer. Let me begin by giving you a warm welcome to this meeting. Okay, before we get started, I would like to express my appreciation to Mr. Muhammad as a speaker today, and also the Dikaris team who generously helped us make this event come true. We could not have done it without you all. Then, in the discussion, we hope to learn about the activities the research activity. Because in the past 6 months of community of Dikaris, there are still many things that we need to develop and improve in the following. This is the line with the Dikaris vision and mission, when we must keep moving forward and evaluate what we have done. As far as I know, the research community is still very rare in Indonesia, and this is why Dikaris was formed. Dikaris was formed as a non-profit community that aims to assist university students who are in the process to completing their research and wish to publish it in the form of scientific publication, as well as a forum for researchers who wish to find partners to complete their research. The background of founding of Dikaris community is to desire to help students who have difficulties in completing their thesis or scientific writing due to the limited knowledge, facilities, and connections. Well, okay, I need to turn it to Wifa again. I'd like to say once again on behalf of the organizers, welcome. Yes, this is so many people here. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay, thanks Mahesa. And okay, next session I'll give the chance to Orbit Junita for taking core the agenda. And please.
Okay, thank you. All right, my name is Orbit Junita. I am an undergraduate student and a student in the Dikaris community. I want to welcome all of you to today's international sharing presenting by the Dikaris community. We will talk about system in organization of research who are expert in this field. I'm excited to welcome our guest, Muhammad Alawami. Mr. Muhammad Alawami is the founder and president of ReachSci. He had great education background, a lot achievement, awards, and publication. He graduated with distinction with a Bachelor of Science degree from the University of Colorado, Denver, and took his first master degree at UCL in nanotechnology and regenerative medicine. Then he took his second master degree at the University of Cambridge in Master of Research and is currently pursuing his doctoral degree at the same university, which is University of Cambridge. ReachSci is a society at the University of Cambridge with mission enable anyone from anywhere to do outstanding research, especially in the STEM field. And on the ReachSci website, more than 400 volunteers have joined and more than 250 students have been assisted from more than 20 countries on the 6 continents. Wow, that's a lot. Okay, welcome. Or Assalamualaikum, Mr. Muhammad Alawami. How are you doing?
Walaikum salam wa rahmatullah. Good. Thank you for the introduction. Good that you put things together without even asking me. That was very nice. Yeah, very good introduction. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Alhamdulillah.
Good.
Good. Okay, for the audience, if you have any question during this session, you can add your question in the chat box or raise your hand, and it will be answered for the selected at the end of this session. All right, Mr. Alawami, I've seen the ReachSci website and Instagram. I think this is very brilliant idea as a student who is relatively new to the world of research. My brain says this is exactly what I need. This makes me want to ask, how is the organizational structure in the management of volunteers in ReachSci?
Yeah, good question. So I would say, well, one of the things that makes us, even though you're a very young organization as well, we're about 2 years old, to achieve a lot is we have great volunteers who really connect with what we do, who are really passionate about also improving research around the world. So I always, try to express my gratitude and appreciation to everyone who has helped. We had a lot of people who actually helped, and as you know, it's very difficult. So in terms of the structure, we have different teams in ReachSci. So we have the committee. The committee is mainly from Cambridge University, and those are handling the big picture. So the main programs, the main goals, the main aims. So rather than the execution, so the execution is more toward the volunteers. So so this is the committee, and it's made up of about 6 or 7 members, and that is the big picture part. Okay. The second part is the volunteers. So everyone is volunteer, by the way, but different duties. The committee, just to emphasize, so the committee, we bring people who have higher expertise. So PhD students plus professors as well. So for example, our committee, we have professors from the university. We have PhD students from Harvard and from Stanford as well. So we bring people who have the expertise. Okay, so then these people help us build the big picture. Good. What exactly do we need to achieve? The big picture things. And their commitment is not a lot. Could be once a month, could be twice a month. It's more of the big thing. The other part, which is the execution, which is also very important, because if you have the greatest ideas, it's useless without a team. You can have the biggest idea out there, but if you don't have a team who's passionate, who can do things, then it's just useless. So this comes our really passionate volunteers. So our volunteers come from now about 20 countries as well. We have a lot of volunteers, even from Indonesia as well. So the way we manage them, we have a structure. So I come first, so the president first, and then we have what we call coordinators. So coordinators are also volunteers, but they are a bit of higher managerial. So we have sub teams. So we have the volunteers, and then we have 7 teams of volunteers. Each has about 20 to 50 volunteers, depending on their duties. A coordinator manages the big teams. Okay. Then below that, we have a senior manager. Senior managers manage a group of sub-teams. So we have myself, and then we have the coordinators for the sub-teams. And then we have the, for the teams, we have the coordinators. And then below this, we have the senior managers for the sub-teams. And sometimes we have also junior managers if the team's too big, and eventually we have the volunteers. So we try to make it a bit of a hierarchy. People don't really like hierarchies because you don't hear the people at the bottom. But we give this hierarchy to make sure everyone is on page, but we also make sure all the coordinators meet with all their teams. So even though there is a hierarchy, you try to also meet with all the members below. I also myself schedule meetings to meet with everybody. Not very regular, you know, at least once a month, for example, or a few months, but I make sure even myself is reachable because people are volunteering, they're not paid. So they have to be motivated, they have to know what's going on, they have to trust you as well. So you have to also be really connected to your volunteers. Even if you have too many, it's not an excuse. You have to make it a time. You have to establish the trust with them. Hope that was useful.
Okay. Wow, this is very clearly. So next question.
Yes.
Okay. Before participant ask about this, how does the community work in recruiting mentors, students, and volunteers?
Okay. So volunteers usually just through our website, and social media. So we promote on our website and social media, and we just promote the roles that we want, and then people apply. So this is how we do it now because we have a good community already. But at the beginning, I would say what helped me a lot is I had a lot of followers. So I was also helping people doing research and going to top universities before. And that helped me a lot when we needed volunteers and we didn't have any followers on ReachSci. I promoted it on my social media. So it's always good to build, even before you want volunteers, just build a community. Just build as big community as you can, because eventually when you need help, you need to have a big community, because out of 1,000 followers, you might have only 10 people who are interested. So it's very little. When we started the first time, I had about 30,000 followers and only 60 were interested to volunteer because we were new. So you see, it's a very big community, but very few people are interested. So recruiting volunteers usually done like this, but then people see how good of a community you are, the word of mouth spread. So they tell their friends, and then it spreads, and then it becomes really easy to get. So for now, we get thousands of applications. I think we got about 2,000 applications to volunteer, but this takes time. The mentors, for us, mentors are professors.
Okay.
So we either reach out through students. So for example, our volunteers are already, some of them are students at universities, right? So we ask them to reach out to their universities and ask if there is a professor interested in mentoring. Sometimes we send emails. So we send emails, and emails is very time consuming and the success rate is very low. So a very successful email campaign would have about 3% success. So if you email 100, you get 3. This is if it's very successful. It's a 3%. So emails is not the best, but sometimes you have to. I would say, since you are focusing on Indonesia, right? Main focus is Indonesia, right? Yes. So I would assume you already have connected to professors. And you have friends who are connected to other professors in other universities. Trying to do this is much better and much easier and much more successful.
Okay.
Yeah.
Noted.
Yeah. Well, you also asked about recruiting something else. So you said mentors, volunteers, and
Students.
Students.
oh, the students are through professors.
Ah,
So we ask the professors to select, because for us to select, again, this might be different for you, but for us, because we only have an application and there is no way we can decide through an application if a person qualified or not. A person can be qualified but just because they're good at writing application. If a person is good at writing application, it doesn't mean they're good at research or they're motivated. So we found through our experience that when we let the professors choose, it's much better, because they know who is motivated, they know who have access or who don't have access.
okay.
The other problem with application is, especially if you're targeting people who don't know, who don't have the background. Usually people who are good at application are the ones who can, sorry, let's go back the other way around. People who are already good at research, who already have the opportunities, are already good at writing applications. So when you pick based on application, you usually pick the people who don't really need it, who probably have so many different research experiences before. But when you talk to professors, you tell them, I'm looking for people who don't know how to do this, who don't have experience. Then you make sure much better you choose the right audience, and also you choose the people who's motivated, because that is also important.
Okay.
Very clearly, thank you. And next question.
Sure.
What are the qualification recruitment to become volunteers?
So the volunteers is depending on the role. There are some roles that doesn't require anything. Well, our bare minimum requirement is they have to be 18 and older, because it's just legally they're considered children. So if you're younger than 18, you're considered a child by UK law, and that just brings a lot of complexity with it. So we, as a bare minimum, is 18 years old, or if a country that has an age that consider a child, like some countries might say a child is older than 21. So then we have to go with the country's own rule. So you shouldn't be legally in your country and in our country defined as a child. So that could be 18, maybe it's 21 in different countries. The other requirement is we require certain hours per week. So they have to be able to commit. And there are other requirements, but depending on the role. So for example, if we need a designer of some sort, we would require some design background. If we require a research project design, then they have to be a PhD student at least. There are some roles that doesn't require any background, we can train. So we always train volunteers who don't have the background. And not having the background doesn't mean they're not good. We have seen volunteers who learn very, very quickly. They can be better than experienced people in such a short time. So depending on the role, I would say.
Okay.
Next question is, and how long does the research completion process take, whether it is determined by ReachSci or students and volunteers determine it themselves?
Now so the teaching, so we have two parts. ReachSci program is two parts. We have a program, so teaching, and we have applying, so project. So they learn and they apply. So two things. So the learning part is 8 to 10 weeks, depending on the audience. So for bachelor student and master students, it's 8 weeks. PhD students plus, it's 10 weeks. And what we do is sorry, what was your question again? Can you remind me?
Okay, how long does the research?
Yeah, so 8 weeks for bachelor and masters. This is the training.
Okay.
The training. This is not the project, it's the research project. And then PhD plus, it's 10 weeks. This is the training. The research project is, we usually ask for something. So there are two things here as well. Sometimes we design the project, sometimes they design the project. So if we design the project, we try to do a project that can be done in 2 to 3 weeks. But something to keep in mind, usually you multiply by 3, because in research, it always takes longer. So if you think it's going to take 2 weeks, probably going to take 6 weeks. Then again, if you're not optimistic. If you're realistic, it takes 3 times. If you're very optimistic, usually takes more because you think you can achieve more, and then you actually cannot achieve more. You usually, if you're very optimistic with your abilities and other people's abilities, it takes much longer, usually 6 times, because you cannot estimate very well. But if you're very realistic, it's 3 times. So yeah, so that is the research project for bachelor and master student. For PhD, we usually choose a project that they're already working on, and we're flexible in terms of time. It can be a few months, it can be up to 6 months.
Okay. Next question. How is it going after students finish their research? Is there a journal submission process?
So we recommend that they submit. So they have to submit a report to us, but it's not required for them to submit. Again, depending on the audience. So our basic program for bachelor and master students, they just submit a report. The report is already, we ask them to submit a publication quality report. So when you see the report, you see, oh, this is a publication quality report. Then for our more advanced programs, they have to submit. So there has to be a submission to qualify for a certificate. So depending on which program.
Okay. And lastly, what appreciation is given to mentors and volunteers if they finish their works?
So we give certificates to all of them. So different types of certificates. So we have volunteering certificates, and we have mentors certificates, and we have student certificates as well. So different types for different people.
Okay, all right. Okay, I think enough. Excellent. All your answer made me have a lot of new perspective, and I'm sure our audience has same feeling. Next, we have Q&A session. This is okay. Maybe audience have question. Okay. Maybe audience have a question. You can put in chat box or raise your hand. So
while people are asking question, I just want to add something very important. So we don't give we don't give certificates for completing the program. We only give certificates for achievement, because certificates for completing are very cheap. You can get certificates of completion from anywhere. They're free, they're everywhere, and they don't actually add value. You see many people have certificates, but they don't actually have the skills. This is very, very common. They have tens and probably hundreds of certificates. I have seen one of the people I checked their CV, they have 300 certificates, but then they don't actually know all of these things. So it doesn't mean anything. What we give is an achievement. So based on their achievement, if they have done a report that is really, really good, then we give them. If they learn everything throughout the program, then we give them, because it's important to have the achievement, not just a certificate, because certificates are being very, very cheap now to get, and they're easy to get.
Okay.
So we then have a question and answer session, Dava.
Okay. Okay, we have. Good. Maybe first of all, I want to ask personally to Mr. Alvani. Okay. Based on our first question, management of organization, could you please explain about how many division or department are there in the ReachSci organization?
So at different stages, we have different teams. So now we have 8 different, I would say, departments or teams. Yeah.
9 departments.
Sorry.
What are they?
So we have publicity, we have partnership, we have project design, we have website development, we have other ones for different programs. We have career development programs. We have different research development programs, and we have legal as well. We have translation. Yeah, these are the ones that I remember now.
Is that what is?
Yeah.
Is that what is on your website, right?
Yes, I think we only have. I think we have the coordinators.
Yes, I
for each team, so then you can see how many teams. But this also needs to be updated because we restructured some of the teams. We are now restructuring because now we are starting our new year. So every new year after this year, it's after April, we restructure things. So we learn from our mistakes and we restructure things to make them better.
Okay.
So now we are at the restructuring stage until the end of April. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Mr. Alawan,
So,
do you receive a question from audience?
I think I saw Amelia, I think, raising her hand earlier, and I saw maybe another person as well.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you for the chance, sir. It is so good to hear the explanation from you. I have the questions. If I'm not mistaken, you mentioned that the organization choose the students through the professor's recommendations. My questions is, did your organization open for open for all department of the research? I mean, now I am mastering my master degree in English educations, and of course I don't know the professor in Cambridge and also UK. So do I have a chance to do and to be your students, and how is it going for the requirements? Thank you.
Yeah. So we choose professors from your own university. So the mentors is not from Cambridge. The mentor is from your local university, basically. And we chose that for many reasons. The key reason is online supervision is not so good. What you need is an in-person. You need one-to-one. You need to meet the person. They need to see you. It gives you much better quality of supervision. The other thing is we want to do what they call capacity building. So we want to also transfer the skills that we have across the globe. Okay. In terms of qualification, at the moment, we're focusing on STEM. So science, technology, engineering, and math. We have started a new project related to translation. So it's going to be a research project in on English as a medium of instruction, and it's going to be research based. So if you are interested in, if anybody is interested in that, you can message me on Instagram, for example, and I can give you more details. That is a bit different though. And yeah, we have side research projects and we have the main program. So this is a research project, it's not a program.
Okay.
Thank you for your answer. Next, maybe there is Denny.
Yes, thank you, Miss, for your time. Thank you for Mr. Alawami for your explanation. I'm so happy to hear you in this meeting, and I want to know that I'm here is as a participant, and then I want to know how to increase the search engine optimization our journal in the some platform. So that's why our journal can be read by the other people. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh.
So there are multiple ways to do this. So you have a journal already, or you have a publication?
Yeah, I have already publication in some, maybe in some journal article, but when I read the insight from my journal, there is still lost. So I guess there is maybe some problem from my journal, or maybe from my wording or something like that. So the reader still lost, I guess.
Yeah, so one of the key things to make your publication visible is participating in conferences, just to get people to see you, to see your results, and to potentially cite you in the future. Conferences is a really, really good way. The other thing is, if you could publish it, again, I don't know what field you are, but in our case, we have other things that we can do. For example, what we do is there is something called bioarchive, and it's something you publish before you submit to a real journal, and people can see it. It's open access. Everyone opened this, and they can see it. The third thing is I would engage in discussions. So there are always discussions on LinkedIn, on ResearchGate, and on things related to your field. So you can engage in these discussions to also show yourself, make yourself visible, and then people start to check your website, check your profile, check your publication. These could be ways. It could also be for a future to cite key publications. So when you cite publications, don't cite anyone, cite only the best, because people that you cite, they will eventually notice you. So if you cite any journal and any publication, those people usually don't care much about research, and just everyone cites them. So they don't really care. But if you cite people who are really good, they usually go and say, oh, who did cite me? Why did they cite me? You know, things like that. So be more engaged, I would say, in different ways. Try to utilize the open access, the archives, and try to show yourself in conferences and any opportunities that you see.
Okay. Let's see.
Thank you for your presentation.
Good.
Okay.
Okay, any question again, please?
Okay. Maybe I will read some our question from members. There are several questions here. Wait, because our host just left because of signal problems, maybe. And then the next question is, wait. Okay. Okay, so Mr. Muhammad, what is your opinion to become a full-time researcher? Making research as the main job, how to manage time to do research on time and recognizable. Maybe you have any tips for time management, and then let's look at.
Yeah, so is that it? So
Yeah, what's your opinion?
yeah, so the key things, first of all, if you want to be a good researcher, try to do something you really enjoy. Because to be very productive and to do very well in research, you need to do something really, really enjoy. So you put the time. For example, you see me now, it's a weekend and I'm still in the lab because I really enjoy it. It's like a hobby. So I would say if you want to go into research to me at least is like a hobby, something you do for fun. It's not something you just do as a job. You try to enjoy it because it's something you like, discoveries, you like, to discover new things, solve new things. So the first thing I would say, choose an area, because I have worked in about, 8 or 9 different labs. And some of them I hated, like from the first week, you realize, oh, this is not what I want to do. That doesn't mean you're not a good researcher or you don't enjoy research. Sometimes also it's very exciting in the beginning, but then you spend 2 months and you realize, oh, this is not so much fun. So try to put the effort, try to go experience different labs to discover the lab that doing something that really, really, really interests you. And again, think about it as a hobby. Don't think about it as just a job. And that is the first thing. The second thing is try to be very, very productive. And by productive is put the time and try to be away from distraction. Distraction can be many things. It can be people around you in your lab, they just chatting all the time, and then you cannot do work. Distraction can also be yourself. You're distracting yourself. And this happens is you have so many ideas and you want to do all of them at the same time. That usually doesn't work. Research requires focus. You need to define what are the best ideas, what are the most interesting, and focus on. Because in order to have a really good position, you need to have really good results. Usually, they would look into good publication, good results. Again, depending on how competitive it is. For example, if you're from China, you need to be the best. You need, during your PhD, you need to read at the best possible. You need to publish as a PhD student in the best journals. And I have seen people who are PhD students publish better than professors with 40 years of experience. We see this. And yeah, so you need to do things. You need to do things very, very well. And you need to be very productive, because it's not about how many days you are in the lab or how many hours you are in the lab. It's about how many of those have been productive. So you're sitting there, you're doing with focus, and you're making sure things are working. Because you can also be working in the lab, you're not paying attention, and then you don't do things very well. So you need to have the skills, and you need to have the attention. And again, finally, you need to have the knowledge. So you need to learn, you need to know the details. You need to know, literally, we call it fundamentals. So you know the details to the tiniest. So there is no more details than this. So for example, if you see, sometimes they say, ask why 5 times. So if you see something that doesn't work, why? And then you try to discover why. And then you go discover why, you go for another why. And then you go for another why, and then you go for another why, until you go to a stage where, oh, this is the reason. Like, you can't go deeper than this. For example, I can give you a really quick example. So you can, let's say somebody have discovered a drug, and the drug treat cancer. Okay, why? You try and see, oh, this actually targets the cell. Okay, why does it work in the cell? Then you go inside the cell and see what is actually in the cell. And then in the cell you find, for example, that there is a protein. And then you ask, oh, why does this drug affect the protein? And then you go deeper. What is in this protein? And you find that there is a structure inside this protein that the drug binds to. And then you ask another why. Why does this drug bind to this tiny structure? So you keep going why until you know really, really, really in depth. So understanding the fundamentals is very, very important in your research and also in terms of the theory, so the background. So you need the knowledge, the skills, and the productivity to be a really good researcher. And you need to show yourself as well. Showing yourself is very important. Most of the people I know, they got their position through conferences. So they go to conferences, they show their work, which is really good, and they get to meet great professors, and then they ask them about positions.
I see. Okay. Okay, that is it. And then also, Junita, could you continue the question for our members? Okay. Could you join us,
Sorry,
Junita?
your microphone.
Yeah, your microphone is not.
Okay,
Unmuted.
for audience, there is
Yeah.
question again.
Yes.
Okay, I think I will close this session. Before that, I would like to take the conclusion from from what the speaker have present. But one thing for sure, like very important is consistency. Okay, this is maybe have a 5 or 7 from the question and answer. How is the organizational structure? The ReachSci is 3 years old, have different team goals and aim. Instead, in 6 and 7 members, volunteers from higher expertise from professor, presented from 20 countries, and president keep reachable from for the member atau for the student, and volunteers promote by social media, mentors from professor and student from recommendation professor. And for qualification volunteers has minimum 18 years old, and for the journal submission is very recommended, and what appreciation is given to mentors is a certificate. Okay, once again, thank you so much, Mr. Alawami. Jazakallahu khairan and yasarallahu. I will bring him back to Viva.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Orbit. And thanks for Muhammad Alawami for the opportunity to share knowledge and experience in the sharing and discussion this time. And before we close our meeting today, we take a documentation first. And please open your camera and give the best smile of you guys. Okay, Siti, could you help me to take the pictures?
Okay.
Okay.
1, 2, 3.
Okay, again.
Okay, done.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Okay, guys, thank you for your time and participation today. We are very grateful to get many new perspectives, and hopefully the Indonesian research community, especially Dikaris, can further develop. And have a great day. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Take